In her day, Dorothy Squires was one of Britain's most glamorous stars.
With all my heart, I miss you. Whenever we're apart.
She had it all. A mansion with a pool, mink coats, racehorses, an apartment in LA. But in the end she lost it all, because she was her own worst enemy.
With all my heart.
Her own, in the film Stars in Your Eyes.
Drop the curtain!
No, I'm going on.
You with a sunny smile. I saw the look in your eyes. Imagine my surprise.
But in general, Dorothy was concentrating less on her career and more on Roger's. Some cynics accused him of using her.
For anybody to say he married me to become a star or whatever, that's a load of...
People can think what they want, say what they like.
No way at all. That was nothing to do with it at all.
I certainly didn't go into a relationship with that in mind.
Their separate careers meant that Dorothy and Roger often found themselves on opposite sides of the Atlantic.
How two people stay happily married in this business, I'll never know. You know, you and Jimmy ought to write a book about it.
It isn't easy all the time.
Heaven knows we tried, didn't we, Bessie?
We certainly did, but the odds was against us.
You mean success didn't help, was that it?
When you make a success in this business, Sally, your whole life's had it.
Dorothy was well aware of the pitfalls facing a celebrity couple. There were rumours of other women in Roger's life, though these were denied.
I never went on location. Because what you don't know, you know, I never ever went on location. Some of the wives would go everywhere. And that's the kiss of death anyway, isn't it?
It was during filming on location in Zagreb in 1961 that Roger met Italian starlet Luisa Mattioli.
I think the problem in show business, you know, is show business, there is a lot of temptation, especially if you're apart. For long periods of time, you know, and I'm not particularly proud of myself. I don't think I behaved that well.
Dorothy came home one night to find a bundle of love letters from Italy, addressed to Roger.
When you lose the one you love.
When she confronted him with them, he left her to begin a new life with Luisa.
Just a memory.
I am glad I read them, because how long was that going to go on for? You know, I couldn't stand that.
At the age of 46, Dorothy found herself alone. The 1960s were her wilderness years. She had lost her way.
My legs were cut from under me. My arms were chopped off. In other words, I was dazed. I didn't know what it was all about.
For 7 years, Dorothy refused Roger a divorce. She finally relented in 1968. On the day of Roger and Luisa's wedding, Dorothy made her own public appearance in court. She'd been stopped on suspicion of drink driving. When the policeman told her, "You're going to blow into this bag," she replied, "You can stuff your little bag." Dorothy had always been a fighter, but now she felt the world was against her. She'd spent much of the 50s in America. When she returned to Britain, she found the scene dominated by a new generation of performers and a new style of music.
The minute you walk in the joint.
When she didn't get the booking she expected, she started to believe there was a conspiracy against her in the entertainment industry. So Dorothy decided to take matters into her own hands. In the biggest gamble of her career, she used her own money to hire the London Palladium for one night.
In true star tradition, Dorothy Squires turned up late in a fur coat and a Rolls-Royce. and she arrived at the Palladium to a typical show business welcome. It's a day she's been waiting for 3 months. 3 months which, on her own admission, have meant sleepless nights and sleeping pills.
I did it for one specific reason. I hadn't been on television for so many years, and my records, the public were buying them in the hundreds of thousands. I haven't been out the charts for a year, with 3, Once in My Life, Till, and My Way. And the frustration of getting letters from the public, hundreds in fact, saying, why wasn't I on television?
Some critics predicted a flop, but they'd underestimated the loyalty of Dorothy's fans.
She's a great singer. We like her.
Absolutely smashing.
Yeah.
Can you come over here? Just why are you here tonight?
Well, because we like her. I think she's absolutely smashing. And we hope she'll have a good comeback.
And you?
Yeah, she is marvellous. That's why I've come. She's a very good singer. I think so.
If anybody wants a ticket to go anywhere in London, they come to you. What about a ticket for here tonight?
Oh, I think it's almost impossible. I've never seen anything like it. This is fantastic. I think that what Dorothy Squires has done is the greatest thing what the entertainment world has needed. She's been a lone wolf, so the Delphons and everybody has said, and she's proved everybody wrong.
Now, if I could buy a ticket tonight, what would I have to pay for it, do you think?
I think you'd have to pay about £10 or £15.
For Dorothy, this was a personal as well as a professional test.
When my marriage finished, and it finished so abruptly, then you question it at the time. Why did it happen to me? And of course, the answer was my answer when I walked out on the London Palladium stage. Because that I will never, ever, ever relive ever again. Yeah, I'd been crying for one love when I had thousands.
The audience gave Dorothy a standing ovation before she sang a note. The critics compared her to Edith Piaf. They said she stops just short of tearing her heart out. Dorothy Squires was back. With a triumphant comeback behind her, Dorothy stood on the brink of a new wave of success at the age of 55. But it wasn't meant to be. She spent much of the 1970s giving performances in court rather than on stage. She was developing an obsessive love affair with the law. Dorothy was quick to sue those she felt had done her wrong. It was a habit that was to cost her dear. One of her first targets was a newspaper that Dorothy said fabricated a kiss-and-tell story about her life with Roger.
When the News of the World published When Love Turned Sour, that was the beginning of the end of me, because the vendetta that I was subjected to after that, and I hold Rupert Murdoch entirely responsible for it.
Dorothy successfully sued the News of the World and was awarded over £4,000 in damages. But not all her experiences in court were as happy. In 1972, she was fined for high-kicking a taxi driver in the head after he tried to throw her out of his cab. And in 1973, she was arrested with several others and charged with bribing a BBC radio producer to play her records.
The singer Dorothy Squires is the best known of the 10 accused, and when she arrived at the court, she was greeted by one of her fans, who presented her with a bunch of red roses. These she carried into court, where she appeared with 6 other people.
Dorothy was eventually cleared of all charges, but the affair damaged her career. Worse was to come. On the 27th of July 1974, her mansion in Bexley burnt down.
And I woke up and everything was black before me, and I rubbed my eyes. I thought there was something there. Anyway, I went down the stairs and I fell through the slats. And I was black and blue from here to there because I was caught up in the slat. And with this, I got back to the door that led out to the back, and they were with a big log forcing it. And I just got out of the way, because if that log had hit me, I'd have had it. I ran in for my dogs to see where they were. I couldn't see for smoke, and they ran after me. When I saw this house I'd bought and made into an absolute showplace. What do you think if we saw this going up in flames? And you're sitting on the wall outside with a mask on you, breathing. What would you have done? I didn't want to live anymore.
Dorothy had escaped from the fire clutching her jewellery box under one arm and 400 love letters from Roger under the other. Talking to a journalist afterwards, she said, "Next time I'll live by water." She moved into a house by the Thames that same year. It flooded 3 weeks later. It seemed the fates were against Dorothy, but she was a born survivor.
This can be yours and mine. Shangri-La is there for us to
In